Hi everyone, Mike here. Welcome to Logic and Critical Thinking class. Each week or so, maybe every other week, I like to make a quick video just so we get some face to face in an online class. I find it useful to get to know you a little bit, and a lot of people find it useful to get to put a face to the name and all the information you're going to get from me, and you're going to hear my voice a million times. But here I am. Okay, so in today's short video, I'm just going to cover several things. First, I'm just going to very, very briefly talk about how the class will be structured, how it will work, and generally how I grade, that type of thing. Then I'll very quickly look at the syllabus, and we won't go over the whole thing. You can find all that on the class site if you're interested in the details. Just a couple of the main points. Then finally, I will tell you a little bit about myself. If you're interested, you can shut it off at that point if you don't care. It's up to you. And then at the end, I'm going to really, really make a plea for you to use me as a resource in the class. And it's something that really does help an online class work well, is if you know that any small question you have, you can just text me or email me or whatever. All right. So the class is meant to do a couple of things. The first and most important for me is I really want you to like the class. I really do think it helps. I really love philosophy. I like ethics. I like intro to philosophy. I like logic. I like pretty much all of philosophy. And I want you to like it too. Now, there's things we need to learn. There's strict things we have to do as well. But part of the class is for you to find things that you find interesting or enjoyable, or at least don't hate. We can go with at least don't hate as our as the lowest part of the bar. And so the class is structured in a way where there's often a lot of choice for you. There'll be one or two or three different choices you can pick from each week. And I do that on purpose so that you can find something that appeals to you and also something that you think might actually work for you and help. Because the second goal of the class is for you to find useful tools, useful things that you can bring into your real life, whatever your major is, whatever your current life experience or life prospects are. This stuff is really useful. It's a really useful tool. It makes you a better thinker. It helps you understand the world in a little bit of a more clear way. It can understand the errors and all the ways we can actually improve our thinking and our clarity. Okay, so pick and choose, kind of manage the class to help yourself find things that you think are interesting or at least not boring. And it'll be way more interesting and way more fun for you. All right, and so that's part of the way the class is set up. I tend to not be the hardest grader on individual assignments. However, I am a little bit strict on the overall story. So what that means is that I'm happy to give you a little bit of flexibility from week to week, depending on what's going on. I know stuff happens in life. I get it, especially nowadays. There's a lot of stress with COVID and kids. Some people have kids and some weeks they can go to school or their classes in quarantine. Maybe yourself or somebody you know has gotten sick. There's all kinds of things can happen. Job stuff, school, other classes, just general life can happen. You might fall and hurt yourself or something. And so I'm more than happy to work with you on all those things. However, there is a holistic, large scale thing that I'm pretty strict on. You got to do the work. How we manage the individual parts, I'm a little more flexible, but you got to do the whole class. It's important. Okay. And so that's how the grading is set up for the class. And the overall structure week to week will follow a pattern. So as I'll explain a little bit later, I'm into exercise and fitness and that type of stuff. I'm a little bit crazy about it. And in there, what you do is you learn something new. You walk before you run. Then you start to add weight or run farther or run faster. And then you take a nice active rest, not a complete time off, an active rest. And you structure it so that it works like that way. And so that's how I have the class set up. I really do think that learning to think more clearly and more accurately in our lives is a lot like exercising. It's exercising for our brains. And so the first week of each 3-week block will be pretty easy. I'll introduce the content. I'll give you usually a pretty simple assignment, and that's the first week. The second week will be a little bit harder, with a harder assignment, more content, more things to learn. And then the third week will be an active rest week. This does not mean you get a week off. It's not a week off, it's active rest. Generally, what that means is something small that you do on your own related to what we just studied in the class and post in a discussion or share with the class in some other fashion. Okay. And then we repeat that structure. We have a 13-week class, so we do it 4 times. And then on the final week, we have a final assessment, which I'll talk about in a minute. So here, I'm not going to go through all of this. You can find this all on the website if you're interested. I want to just briefly talk about the assignments there. Oh, and don't let me forget, you don't need a book for the class. Everything is done online for this online class. You do not need to get a text for this class. So sometimes I forget to say that. All right. So the assignments you'll see there match what I just said. There are 3-week cycles. And the first week will be a pretty easy assignment. The second week will be a longer assignment, usually a 2 to 3 page paper, something like that. And then the third week will be a discussion post. And it'll follow that 4 times. We'll do that same exact thing 4 times. And there'll be 3 active rest week assignments. Usually they're just simple posts with some little bit of work for you to do on the side related to what we just covered in the class. And then we begin a new content, new structure. And it just repeats 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just like that. And then you'll see the final assessment. And I like to briefly talk about this here because it's a little bit unusual the way I have it set up. So you have 3 choices for the final assessment. And the first one is a standard final assessment like you do in a lot of classes, where I will give you 3, 4 questions, and you'll have 3 essay length answers. So, 1 page, 1.5 page answers for each question. And it's standard like you would do in many classes. The second option is an oral assessment. In the oral assessment, you are going to set up a Zoom time with me, and we're going to sit down and I'm going to ask you about the class. And I have a set format how I do all this, so it's the same for everybody. And it's graded just like any other assessment. And believe it or not, usually a good chunk of people like to do this. You'll get to see that, I'm not super mean or anything like that. It's easy to sit down and talk to me about this, and I'm happy to do an oral assessment. And if some people like that, that's an option you can pick. And then finally, if you're a bit of a reader, writer, researcher, introvert like me, you can do a final paper, a final research paper. Now, all of these would be based on the class and based on the structure of the class. And you can pick any of them you want. And when we get close to the end, I'll give you more specific details on how all this works. But I just like to mention it up front because it's a little bit unusual. All right. So remember, there'll be 3-week sections. There'll be an easy assignment, hard assignment, easy assignment, repeated over the length of the semester. Now, a couple of other little things I really want to mention is if you have a disability question, Parkland's actually really, really good. They're very helpful at setting things up, and everyone really just wants the class to work for everyone. And so make sure that if you think you have need to talk to disability services, that you do so. The information is right there in the syllabus if you haven't done so already. Please do it. It's definitely there. It can help everybody. Okay. And for academic honesty, I also teach ethics. I teach all of philosophy. And you will get no sympathy from me if you cheat. Don't cheat. Okay. I don't want to bring out Mean Mike. Mean Mike is not a good person to meet. Okay. So just if you're interested and you don't know the details, you can read all that. And I have the link to Parkland's academic honesty section there. Enough said. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. If you're interested, you can just go read through it yourself. But I did want to touch on a couple of spots. So I really like my job. If you can't tell, I like philosophy. I want you to like philosophy. And I was doing all kinds of other things listed there you can see, and some others I didn't even bother listing before I went back to philosophy. When I went back to philosophy, I knew this was what I wanted to do. And it might sound a little bit geeky, but I really do think philosophy can change the world. I've seen lots of experience, lots of evidence that that's true. It's certainly changed my life. And that's what I'm trying to do in my job, is I try to help people think about ethics a little bit more clearly, think about the big questions in life a little more clearly, about justice and about freedom and things like this. And in this class, how to think more clearly about the world. how to think more clearly about the world, which is a really messed up, chaotic, difficult to understand world, right? And so some of the tools we're gonna work on in the class can really change, can really help somebody. Okay, and so that's why I do this class. That's why I do this class. The second thing I want to mention there, real quick, is at the bottom. I'm not super active on social media, but I am on social media, even though I'm pretty old at this point. And if you want to stalk me there, feel free. I don't care. I'm pretty careful. I won't follow you back till after the class is over, though, so don't feel like I've slighted you if you follow me and I don't follow back. After the class, I'll generally go through and if anyone follows me, I'll follow them back. Okay, so feel free to go check me out if you're interested in that. People always want to know a little bit about my hobbies. So I have a bunch of hobbies, tons of hobbies that I didn't even list. Gaming and lots of reading, of course. But two main hobbies of mine that I'm happy to chat about, or I do quite often, are outdoor stuff and in my garage gym. And so I spend a fair amount of time solo hiking, solo canoeing, things like that. And I've been doing this my whole life. I've been doing it since probably I was 14 or 15. And I'm a bit of a fanatic about it. I really do like it. I spend a lot of time on it. It's one of my passions is being outdoors. I got some pictures from just last summer, from this summer that's just passed right there. Southern Illinois, there in the hammock. Southern Illinois too, there out in the canoe with my buddy Luigi there in the front, looking back at me. And then one of my other hobbies is I'm a serious exercise fanatic, I guess you would say. That's what people tell me. I'm a fanatic. I feel normal, but that's what they say, that I'm a fanatic. And I have a garage gym. I got all kinds of stuff, weights, rowing machines, everything. And I'm out there pretty much every day, as it'll come up during the semester as I use it as an example a few times. I'm happy to talk about either of these things if your interests match up or you want to go hiking for the first time or camping for the first time. I'm happy to help you out. In fact, I used to teach it a little bit. All right. So if you're interested in any of that, just contact me, message me. Let me end with a bit of a plea. So online classes are a little bit weird. Um, Some people really, really like them, but for most people, it's a little bit distant, a little bit cold, a little bit clinical. The professor posts an assignment and you do it. Professor posts an assignment, you do it, and you really don't get that face-to-face discussion and stuff that you would get in a normal class. And I get that. I get that. Okay. So my suggestion is to use me as a resource, especially there. I set up a Google Voice. It's not my regular cell phone number. We don't know each other that well yet. I'm not giving that out. This is what I've set up for classes. I've been using it for years. So if you have a little question, you're reading one of the assignments, if it doesn't perfectly make sense to you, just text me up and say, hey, Mike, on such and such assignment, I really didn't know what this meant. What should I do? And I'll respond really quickly, generally. I'm not a morning person. If you text me at 8 a.m., you're going to be waiting a few hours. But if you text me at 1 a.m., I'll probably answer right away. I'm generally a night person. Okay. I don't mind. You're not bothering me. You're not putting me out. I'm happy. I'm happy to do it. It's my job and I like my job. All right. So if you have little questions or something like that, just text me. If it's something bigger and hard to text, don't text me a 2-page thing. Send me an email. Now, that's usually not as quick. I probably won't get it right away. If you need something right away, obviously text. But for something bigger or longer or hard to put in a text or something official, if you want to contact me officially, send me an email, okay? And I didn't list it up here, but let me just mention that I'm happy to do Zoom calls. It's very easy to set up. In week 2, I'll actually make another announcement about this. I'm happy to do Zoom office hours. We can talk about assignments. We can talk about hiking or lifting weights if you want. Gaming, reading. I read a ton of different things. So anything you want to chat about, I'm happy to chat about. It doesn't have to be class related. But if you have like a little bit more difficulty with something or you want to get in more depth with something and you want to set up a Zoom meeting, I'm happy to do that as well. Okay. So I'm here. I'm a resource for the class. Please use me as that resource. All right. I'm happy to do it. I enjoy it. In fact, usually I'll talk too much and you'll have to say you have to go. All right. So simple, short things, text me. Longer things, email me. And remember, we can always set up a Zoom.